Hey you guys, on today's show, the leftists over in Portland are really showing us a thing or two, and by showing us a thing or two, I mean all of their disgusting bodies. They're really sticking it to the man over there. So we're gonna talk about that, and then we're gonna talk about how Antifa is. I mean, they just keep showing that ass, so that's funny. And then finally, we're going to have a great interview with Representative Steve Toth, who's taking on the execrable, I tell you, I Patch McCain, aka Dan Crenshaw. So stick around for all that today on the Angela Box Show.
Hello, my name is Angela Box.
Okay, over the weekend, leftists keep, of course, writing and dying for illegals. Like those are their favorite people in the whole wide world. Like they shut down the government for them. They're making ICE's life a living hell. They're basically goading President Trump into like declaring an insurrection. And every day it's like just a little bit more, just a little bit more, go to the little to the left, a little to the right, Insurrection Act a coming. So over this last weekend, y'all, this is why you should never vote for a Democrat, because I mean, I would never, like, I'm not stupid or retarded, but you might have voted for a Democrat in the past. And this is a reason why you should never, ever vote for Democrats, because over the weekend in Portland, one of the most hotbed of crazy leftist cesspools there is. And of course, the place that the mayor of Portland. That wasn't the mayor of Portland. I'm thinking of Minnesota. Anyway, scratch all that. Over the weekend, they're all the same, aren't they? Over the weekend, a bunch of leftists were like, you know what we should do? You know what we should do? You know what the world really needs? The world really needs a nude die-in. Like, they've gone from being like hippy dippies in their communes, walking around with their floppy, pendulous breasts and their disgusting genitalia showing and their hair all just wild in all the places, to now they're like out on the streets being nude. And it's hilarious because it's cold in Portland. Like, it'd be cold. It is almost November, and it's cold in Oregon. Yet these geniuses are like, this is what we need to do. And so over the weekend, they all got naked. And a couple weeks ago, they were threatening us with a good time, and they said they were going to do a nude biking extravaganza for the illegals. But they're like, no, actually, what we really need to do is like take up traffic and stop traffic for hours, and like all lay on the ground and pretend that we're dead, and we're doing a nude die-in for illegal aliens. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage of those filthy leftists showing all their bits to the world. Roll that clip.
Hell you! What the fuck?
You guys, I cannot with these people. Like, it's the narcissism for me, I think, is what it is. It's the narcissism. It's the belief that the things that they do matter a whit. Okay. It's the belief that they think that by screaming at the sky and showing us all their unmentionables, that we're just going to cry uncle and release all the illegal aliens. Like, what are you even saying? And this is what's hilarious, is that they think that this tactic is winning them converts. And it's so not. It's so not. The more they scream, the more they attack ICE, the more they flail about, the more the American people are like, you know what? Get rid of all of them. Okay. Because 10 years ago, all the little pearl clutchers out there were like, oh, but the kids, we should let the dreamers stay, and we should let their mom and dad stay because, they just want a better life. What's your problem? And now the American people are like, get the hell out, all of you. Okay. Deport all of them. In fact, the very recent poll showed that the American people are fully behind President Trump deporting not just the bad ones, but the Jose's and Marias too. Get rid of all of them. So the longer this goes on and the more the left just, again, shows that ass, the more the American people are fed up with it. Now, here's something else that's very interesting. Governor Pritzker, Job of the Hut over there in Illinois, he has been asked by the DOJ to surrender his voter rolls, to see if there's any dead people or illegal aliens on those voter rolls. And he's like, no, not going to do it. why would that be? Why wouldn't Jabba the Hutt want to release the voting records of his state? Oh, could it be because there's like a ton of dead people and illegal aliens on it? But I thought you said illegal aliens don't vote. And I thought you said that was a myth. Then why don't you surrender the voter rolls, Governor Pritzker? And look, here's the situation with that. It's not just that they're voting. We know that they're voting. Okay. We know that they're voting. They got 2 million social security numbers that were given to them as Doge discovered. And why would you need that except to get government benefits and to vote? Okay. So we know that they're voting. Now, are they voting in the amounts of, 30 million? No. But here's the rub is we now know that the Democrats need those bodies in order to have congressional apportionment, in order to make sure that they get congressional seats. So that's why they are riding and dying for these people. Like, they don't give a shit about these people, okay? They're like, we just need your bodies. We just need your bodies. So the census counts you, and we get those congressional seats, because every 736,000 people equals 1 congressional seat. So when Trump says we're going to be redoing that census, that in 2020 was done, because it was a total BS census, because you were counting illegal aliens. Like, get ready. I am so here for it. Now, the last thing in this segment I want to talk about, the leftists who are riding and dying for these people are now out and giving them pointers on how to evade ICE. Not just evade, I shouldn't say, like sabotage ICE. So let's roll that clip of some filthy leftist that showed his ass on TikTok.
To all of my protesters out there, if you're going to be protesting, I need you to go and grab these 2 things. 1, leaf blowers from Home Depot. Ryobi, battery operated, doesn't need a cord. Charge them up before you go protest. Make sure that you have anybody who is going to be on the front line have leaf blowers. Second thing, tennis rackets. Get tennis rackets on the front line. So when this is for with the tear gas, if a tear gas can is sent to you, you take that tennis racket and you hit that bubby, you hit that thing as far as you can, straight back at who's ever shooting them at you. Get that tear gas out of there and then use the leaf blowers to clear the air. All right? Here's your strategy. That's it. Make sure that you have people with leaf blowers and tennis rackets to do just that. Godspeed.
Okay, at the end of the day, they're not going to win. They're little stunts that this is, Exhibit A, why you should never vote for Democrats, because not one of them was arrested. Not one of them was, pulled up by their nether regions. Their what do they call it? By their pubes is what I'm trying to say. None of them were pulled up by their pubes and tossed off the streets, okay? Because this is Portland, Oregon, and these people are crazy. So this is why you should never vote for Democrats. Exhibits A through Z. So I just, it's a matter of, they really are the gift that keeps on giving. Like, the more they do this, the more we know we're going to win the midterms, because the American people are sick of their shenanigans. Sick of it, I tell you. But by all means, keep it up. Okay, we'll be right back. Angel lift, ladies and gentlemen. Girls and even men, are you tired of being years old like me and having lip lines that just pop up even though you're not a smoker? They call them smoker's lines, and I am not a smoker, but I had smoker's line. You know why? The straw that I have drank from for these many years. I have smoker's lines. And so when I came across Angel lift, this little piece of silicone that is rigid enough that when you put it in your mouth, it plumps out your lips. And over time, those lip lines are going to fade. Now, is it going to give you the same effect as like if you went to and got filler? No, but it's also a lot more natural. And guess what? You won't have duck lips like this. You won't have duck lips. You'll have your own lips, but smoother lines, ladies and gentlemen. Now, years ago, when I was taking some before and after pictures, because y'all, being a girl is constant maintenance. You guys don't even understand constant maintenance, I tell you. So I always take pictures of the skincare journey, because this has been a work in progress for these many years. And I came across this before and after of my lips. And I was like, what? And I had been using Angel Lift by that point for probably a couple of years. And I could not believe the difference. And you can see this on the screen, my before and after picture. And I was so amazed. I sent it to the company and I was like, you guys, what is this even? And I was like, I must be an ambassador. And they were like, sure, you can be an ambassador. So when you use my code, Angela Box Show, you're going to get 10% off. So do it today. Go to angellift.com/Angela Box Show. Oh, or just Angel Lift. And then your promo code is all one word, Angela Box Show. And you'll get 10% off. And yeah, take my advice and get the professional grade. Spend the extra money, get the professional grade. You can wear them a long time, and it's going to, over time, smooth out those lip lines and give you a lip lift like it gave me. So do it today, angellift.com/Angela Box Show. Okay, another funny few things about Antifa, talk about the gift that keeps on giving. That group that doesn't really exist in real life, like it's just an imaginary group that those burning cities and the fiery but mostly peaceful protests, that was just a figment of our imagination because Antifa doesn't really exist. You know who just said so? Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison said so. He's the Attorney General of Minnesota, and he was formerly in Congress, and he's buddies with Ilhan Omar, and he let us know that Antifa doesn't exist. Roll that clip.
So the fact that there is nobody even knows what it is. The first person I ever heard use the word Antifa was Donald J. Trump when he was going on about how there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville. That's the first time I ever heard anyone use the term. So now it's this amorphous thing. And if nobody's really Antifa, then everybody could be. And the reason you can't find them is because they're just that crafty.
Yet, here's Keith Ellison holding up an Antifa handbook. The handbook on Antifa, which we're going to talk about the author of said book and his lovely bean burrito eating wife. Yet he's holding up this book about how to make people's lives a living hell if you're an Antifa. Yeah, that Antifa that doesn't exist. So they're out telling us that Antifa is not really a thing. And what's your problem? Now, obviously, last week there were all these news stories about how Riot Inc., which is what the Trump DOJ is calling it, all these NGOs, the Tides Foundation, Soros, Rockefeller, Ford, Indivisible, blah, 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 all these organizations that were getting taxpayer money to fund Antifa, okay, and fund their riots and fund their cinder blocks and fund their gas masks and their shields and all these things that all of them just happen to have, at the ready, or whenever they need a mob or rent a mob, they just call them up and they're just suddenly there and they're all in unison. But sure, Antifa doesn't exist. Anyway, last week we talked about that. And $100 million of your taxpayer money has been funding this crap for at least 10 years now. Okay, so Antifa that doesn't exist, whatever. Well, last week when Trump had the roundtable on Antifa, Kristi Noem was out there, and boy, do they hate Kristi Noem. Woo, they hate Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem was like, yeah, Antifa is basically as lethal and as organized as ISIS, as Al-Qaeda, as Hamas. And the geniuses over at CNN, like Aaron Burnett, was like, what are you even saying? Like, how can you even compare that? And so roll Aaron Burnett running her mouth.
In fact, it's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, which have had national leaders, unlike Antifa. There is no organized hierarchy to the group. And according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited. But that has not stopped Trump from blaming Antifa for just about every act of violence in America since he first got into office.
Okay, so to prove how Antifa isn't really a thing, the book that Keith Ellison held up and said, look at this little thing I found in the bookstore. It's called the Antifa Handbook, but it doesn't exist. Antifa Handbook authors, I'm going to read this tweet from Amuse. The author of the Antifa Handbook and his wife Yesenia Barragan, again, a lady who looks like she's eaten quite a few bean burritos and is more than likely illegal, have fled the U.S. now that the group has been declared an international terrorist organization. Now, it's not declared international yet. Trump is threatening that, and it is going to be declared an international terrorist organization because they are causing havoc in many, many countries. All throughout the Western world, Antifa exists. And it isn't funny. They don't go to third world countries. They do it in rich Western nations to try and destabilize them so they can all take control and have their communist utopia, whatever. Okay. Mark Bray provides Antifa groups an instruction manual filled with terror tactics. Bray wrote the terrorism how-to manual after meeting with 61 Antifa leaders in 17 countries. Side note, I thought Antifa didn't have an organized structure. I'm so confused. Let me continue. He brought his findings back to the U.S. Yesenia Barragan, probably illegal, was convicted for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine, but her sentence was commuted by who? Joe Biden in 2024. So right before he left with his auto pen, he signs her commutation. So he's like, you've distributed meth, out of jail, I say for you. Now, Barragan and Bray claim they are in exile in Spain. Now, here's what I have to say about that. What do you mean you're in exile? Isn't that where you want to be? Like, doesn't America suck? Like, what's the problem? You had to flee the big Satan. You had to flee this capitalist hell known as the United States of America. Like, why are you complaining about being in Spain? Why don't you just wreak havoc over there? I'm sure there's some filthy leftist groups that have taken you in, and, you know, Antifa that doesn't exist is like propping you up over there. Like, why are you saying you're in exile? But listen, Mark Bray and Yesenia, Miss Methamphetamine dealer, your days are numbered, okay? Because once Antifa is declared a international terrorist organization, off with your heads, okay? There will be no place for you to hide, just like there's no place for the narco terrorists to hide. So yes, Antifa, you are on the same level as the narco terrorists, as ISIS, as Al-Qaeda, as Hamas, as Hezbollah. So get ready, because it's coming. And you have caused so many issues for so many years in so many communities that it is going to be a beautiful day indeed when some of you get picked up by the short hairs. I remembered it. You get picked up by the short hairs and you start singing, because these people do not want to go to prison, to big boy and big girl prison. Okay. These people are going to start talking, and they're going to start giving up their comrades, and they're going to start telling us who the leaders are and where they got their money. So have fun, Mark Bray and Yesenia, because Trump's coming for you. We will be right back. You guys, I've told you all about my friends over at New Frontier Creative, and I want to continue telling you about them, because every time I talk about them, I remember something else. So Becky and Kevin Blaylock, who I mentioned in another video how I met Becky, they are so lovely to work with, and they're a husband and wife team who met in art school, which I love, and they have a darling little girl too, which is very sweet. But they're a husband and wife team, a small business that is basically taking your janky old products and making them look super professional. Because y'all, I was working with an ISIS bride black backdrop, okay, for many, many years to do my videos. And I had my lights like right on my face. Like, it was not cute. Okay. I looked a hot mess. And Becky came in and fixed everything. Becky made my logo for Angela Bach Show. Becky did our logos when I was working in politics, did our logos for these 2 packs I was working on, did our mail, like beautiful stuff. If you are a candidate for office, they can do all of your graphic design work. They can do your websites. They can do your social media. They can do your content creation. If you're within 2 hours of Houston, they will come to your house and set up your studio for you. And look, even if you're not in Texas or you're not near Houston, you should be giving them a call, because they can work throughout the country. They can work throughout the country and do whatever you need done graphic design wise. So when you tell them that Angela Bach sent you, you're going to get 15% off. So what I would do is go to newfrontiercreative.com and look at their work. Some of the work is, I showed you some behind the scenes clips of Becky and Kevin, but go to their website and look at their work. And you know what? Go to angelabachshow.com and see what they've done for me over there. It's, again, took a janky website and made it look fantastic. And when you use my name, you're going to get 15% off. So bundle everything together and make everything that you do look as professional as you are. newfrontiercreative.com. Tell them I sent you. All right, guys. Next up is my interview with Representative Steve Toth, who is running against Dan Crenshaw. And y'all, if there's someone that needs to be exited out of Congress, it is Dan Crenshaw, okay? Because he claims to be a Republican, and he's like one of the biggest a-holes around. So enjoy this video, and please go support Steve at stevetoth.com. Every dollar amount helps. Get out the word about Steve, because he actually has a chance to beat Dan Crenshaw. You guys, I am really thrilled to have with me State Representative Steve Toth, who is taking on Dan Crenshaw, aka Eye Patch McCain, and I actually think he could do it. So I wanted to have him on so we could hype him up and get him across the finish line so he could beat Dan Crenshaw in the Republican primary. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, great to be with you, Angela.
So as a Texas rep, you are notoriously a thorn in the side of the leftists here. And tell everyone a little bit about your record first in Texas, because it's quite extraordinary.
Well, thank you. I don't know how I can live up to that. So I came in 2013, served 2 years, left for 4, and then came back in 2019. I was endorsed by Donald Trump in 2022 and 2024, which, you know, he gave broad endorsements of everyone that voted for school choice this year. But in 2022 and 2024, I was the only state rep out of 150 that was endorsed by the president. I have a very strong conservative voting record and have passed a lot of really principled legislation that are priorities for the Republican Party of Texas, including ending critical race theory, including penalties for allowing boys and girls bathrooms, banning the social transition of children in our public schools. I have a strong record. I think this year I had, out of 150 members, I think I was the 4th most conservative. But that's only because these great freshmen that came in this past year, we had 15 come in. And so, yeah, I came in 4th. Year before last, I was the most conservative member of the Texas House, according to the Rice scorecard.
I mean, that's hey, number 4 is great. Number 4 is great. And what I like about you is that you're not just sitting there like a lot of people do in the Texas House or in Congress, frankly, just, you know, checking a box and voting. You're actually putting forward legislation that matters. What would you say in the last legislative session? Because this one was wild, with Democrats, you know, fleeing to Chicago and California and all that stuff. What was your favorite or your most consequential bit of legislation that you either promoted yourself, or that you proposed yourself, or that you joined up with someone?
So passing legislation, it's a game. It's like a game of throw and catch. The ball may start in the House and be thrown over to the Senate, or vice versa. And the challenge over in the Senate is that they don't have calendars over there. And so you got to get 18 people to sign on to it. And no, not everybody over in the Senate, while they have, you know, a greater ratio of Republican to Democrat, not everyone in the Senate is like Brandon Creighton. Not everybody over there is like Senator Bob Hall or Mays Middleton. And so you've got to get 18 signatures. And so you make the bill as strong as you can, then send it over to the House, and then somebody over in the House is going to fight to strengthen it. So as an example, Lois Kolkhorst sent Senate Bill 17 over to us, which bans the sale of property to foreign adversaries. The problem is that it had a 100-year land lease on it. Or I'm sorry, 99-year land lease. Well, if you can lease land for 100 years and you can do anything to it that you want, what's the difference between that and buying it, right?
Right.
And so that's the way it came over from the Senate. And I fought to put an amendment on it that bans that takes that 99 years and drops it all the way down to 1 year. And I tried initially to remove the lease altogether, but it materially changed the bill, and it was a point of order. And so we just, we put it, I took it, my amendment, and it brought it down to 1 year. Another piece of legislation is keeping boys out of girls' bathrooms, and great piece of legislation, but the best that Mays Middleton could do with it over in the Senate was for $5,000 for the first offense, $25,000 for each subsequent offense. Came over to from the Senate. I fought to put an amendment on it that took it from $5,000 to $25,000 for the first offense, to $125,000 for each offense thereafter. And another bill, Senate Bill 12, which was Brandon Creighton's bill, this was the Parents' Bill of Rights, Public School Parents' Bill of Rights. And I put an amendment on it that bans the social transition of children in Texas classrooms. So no more of this teachers asking for their kids, for a child's personal pronouns. No more allowing a kid in school to go dressed as a boy to then dress as a little girl, or little girl to dress as a boy. No more allowing kids of the opposite sex to use the other bathrooms. I got that all done this year. In fact, we're the first, because of my amendment on Senate Bill 12, Texas is the first state in the nation that bans the social transitioning of our children. And that's
schools. Important because it's, we talk a lot about the cross-sex hormones, but the more insidious way is the social transitioning. I mean, kids that don't even really know what pronouns are used for in the first place in public schools, because they'll know what personal pronouns are. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's insane. And we banned, it was my legislation 2 sessions ago that unfortunately liberal leadership in the Texas House killed it. But we came back last year and I asked, well, let's let a doctor carry it. And Tom Oliverson carried it over in the Senate. And we passed Senate Bill 14 that bans the surgical and chemical transitioning of children. But the problem, Angela, is that if you haven't stopped the social transitioning, it's still going to happen. Because what will end up happening is a child, a little girl will go over to Texas Children's, and this actually happened. They'll go to Texas Children's, and Texas Children's will say, well, we're not transitioning Jeannie. She has precocious puberty, so we're going to put her on Lupron, which is a drug that inhibits and stops you from going through, through puberty. And they'll just say it's precocious puberty. It doesn't, right? Well, that's not really the case. That's not really what's going on. And then once she's gone through puberty, they'll get a doctor in New Mexico to send her testosterone. So now she's on a cross-sex hormone. And this goes on for 6, 8, 10 years. Now you've got a little girl that realizes at the age of 22, after she's lost her breasts, that she's not a little boy and that she's a girl. But because she's been went through Lupron from the early point of puberty and now has been on testosterone for 8 to 10 years, she's sterile and she can't have children. And it's then that these poor kids become, which are now young adults, that they become suicidal.
Well, and I think it's a point where they become really radicalized too, when they realize they can't. Correct. There's no going back.
Correct.
And I'm a big believer in this is all part of the left's depopulation scheme, but that's a whole other rabbit hole. But it takes leadership like yours to be able to get these things done. And okay, so let's segue now to old Dan Crenshaw. And I'll tell everyone a brief story. When I first encountered Dan Crenshaw, it was when he was running for the first time. He was speaking at Maria Espinosa's organization, the Remembrance Project. And if you do not know who Maria is, please look her up. She's fantastic. She basically got President Trump to really start looking at illegal immigration. She did that, and angel families and all that. So Dan spoke at this luncheon, and I just thought he was fantastic, incredible. I was like, this guy's going to be amazing. He's going to be president. And then he gets in there, and within, I would say, 6 months, we were like, what the hell is going on with Dan Crenshaw? Like, what happened to him? And so I don't know if you had that same kind of feeling at the beginning, like, what happened to this guy?
Completely. So, Angela, I bought in hook, line, and sinker. I mean, to the point where I knew one person that was running in that race in 2018. There were like 6 or 7 people in it. I only knew one who was the front runner that the Republican establishment, the Uniparty, had picked. I didn't like him. I thought he was a little squishy. Nice guy, really nice guy. Mm-hmm. But I just felt he was squishy, right? And so along comes this Navy SEAL. I love veterans. I've been involved in Mighty Oaks for 12, 13 years. It's a veteran service organization that's Christ-centered, and I feel just a deep sense of commitment to veterans because I didn't serve. So I feel like I need to give something back in some way, shape, or form because of all that they have done for us. And I loved him. I thought he was going to be great. He had a great story. He said he was going to upend the apple cart. He said all the things, Angela, we wanted to hear as far as being a disruptor. The reason why we fell in love with Trump so quickly, everyone fell in love with Trump so quickly, was because he said he was going to be a disruptor. He said he was going to upend the apple cart. He said he would not accept the status quo. And that's what Dan Crenshaw told us he was going to do and be about. And no sooner did he get there than he became part of the problem. He fooled us. He
did. He fooled us in a major way. And I'm sorry to say that because his district is, it's the race is the primary. It's a Republican district. Right. And he's had some opposition, with Jamison Ellis, who, got 42% last time as an anti-Crenshaw vote. 43%. And I think, as each cycle goes on, we get closer and closer to getting rid of him. But unfortunately, we need a proactive candidate. We just don't need someone voting against Dan Crenshaw. We need someone to vote for. And I think that's why you have a real chance. So I want to play a couple of clips for you and then get your take on these. The first clip, let me set this up. The first clip years ago, Dan Crenshaw was basically asked, what do you think of the Freedom Caucus? And he essentially said that the Freedom Caucus were grifters and losers. Let's roll that clip real quick.
Who do you think was at the top of that list voting with Trump, and who do you think was at the bottom? A lot of names you would recognize were at the bottom of that list. A lot of names you would recognize are at the top of that list. Number two is probably going to make you cringe a little bit. It's Adam Kinzinger. Voted with Trump almost 99%. He was number two. You know who's at the bottom? Everybody in the Freedom Caucus. All of them. What you hear so often is not true. It's not true. We have grifters in our midst. Not here, not like in this room, that's not what I mean. I mean in the conservative movement. Lie after lie after lie, because they know something psychologically about the conservative heart. We're worried about what people are going to do to us, what they're going to infringe upon us.
Okay, so when you get elected, let's be positive volition. When you get elected, are you going to be joining the Freedom Caucus, or what's your take on that group?
I would love to join the Freedom Caucus. I think that you need a proactive group in DC that is connected to the grassroots. Yeah. I mean, the reality is that there would be no President Trump if there was no Freedom Caucus. Mm-hmm. And not just the Freedom Caucus, it's the voice, it's the people behind the Freedom Caucus. It's the same people that elected the Freedom Caucus is the voice that elected Donald Trump and did not elect Jeb Bush as an example, right? Everyone thought Jeb's going to be the one.
Yeah, exclamation mark. I remember that.
Exclamation point. Clap, please clap. Yeah. That guy, right? But the reality is that the grassroots is underrepresented in Washington, D.C. It is. Because the reality is that 8 out of 10 people, I honestly believe, in the Republican caucus in D.C. would be Freedom Caucus if the grassroots had their way. And I will absolutely ask to be part of that group.
Okay, and the next clip we're going to play, it's something that you were discussing with Tucker when you had your interview with him, and y'all go watch that interview. It's great. It's about an hour long. He was at a town hall meeting in Montgomery County, correct?
Yeah, it was actually the Montgomery County Tea Party.
Yeah,
where it happened.
Ironically, and a young lady got up and asked him a question about his faith. Let's roll that clip.
So that's important. That's the important thing is that we have societal hero archetypes that we look up to. Jesus is a hero archetype. Superman is a hero archetype. real characters too. You know, we could name 1,000. You know, Rosa Parks, Ronald Reagan. All of these people embody certain attributes that the American people think this is good.
Yeah!
Who hasn't heard, Crenshaw said, quote, "The most important thing here is that we have important hero archetypes that we look up to. Jesus is a hero archetype, Superman is a hero archetype. Real characters too. I could name 1,000. Rosa Parks, Ronald Reagan," end quote. I can't wrap my head around this.
Well, I'll help you. Put a period after the word Jesus and don't question my faith.
Wow.
Okay, that's,
You moron.
Look.
Yeah, you don't talk to a kid like that. Boo.
Don't question my faith.
Oh, okay.
You guys can ask questions about all of these things and I will answer them. But don't question my faith.
I can question your faith if this is what you said.
I mean, you can read the quote again. But nowhere in that quote am I saying Jesus is not real. That's a ridiculous statement. Of course he's the Son of God. Of course he's the Son of God, and of course he's real.
You can say two different things. You can say that on a podcast, and you can say this here.
On the podcast, nobody would have understood it that way. I think you're twisting it that way. Which is not very Christian.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
It's not. And I'm not going to have my faith question.
Thank you.
I'm not going to have my faith question.
So you're a former pastor, or you're current, are you still a current?
I'm a pastor.
You're a pastor, current pastor, business owner, a man of faith, a man of deep faith. And I'm not going to sit here and disparage someone's personal relationship with God. That's their personal relationship. But what was your take when you saw the reaction, like the way he spoke to this girl?
It just the lack of grace on his part. You know, look, Angela, over the years, I mean, I can't count the number of interviews that I've done over the years. And, you know, there are times when I've come home and my wife has said, "Steve, did you mean to say it that way?" And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could have handled that better. I guess I could. That was probably a dumb response, but to bite somebody's head off, her faith is deeply held too. My faith is deeply held too. Your faith is deeply held too, right? He can get his nose bent out of shape. She didn't get her nose bent out of shape. She didn't yell at him. She didn't get angry with him. She said, "I have a hard time getting my arms around this." You said that you implied that Jesus Christ is a fictional figure by comparing him to Spider-Man.
A mythical creature.
Right. You know, she didn't get her nose bent out of shape. You're a public figure, Dan. I'm a public figure. Angela, you're a public figure. You have a podcast. You know, this is a discussion. And she had every right to ask him that question. But to bite her head off, I mean, wow. Seriously? I mean, it's just silly.
Well, before I have to let you go, because I know you're very busy. Like I said, I think that you this is a winnable race. So how's your fundraising looking? Have you gotten any important endorsements? Has Trump reached out to you? Like, can you share any inside baseball stuff? And then we're going to talk about how people can support you, because he must win.
The race could not really be going any better. The polling shows that we can win this. We announced July 15th, which was 2 weeks into the third quarter reporting period for Federal Elections Commission reporting. And then immediately 1 week later, the governor calls us into a special session for 2 months. So for all intents and purposes, we only had about 2 weeks basically out of that 3 month period where we could raise money, but we raised $300,000, that's amazing. We've got a long ways to go. We know that we're going to be outspent by him, but I've never had a race, Angela, where I wasn't outspent 3 and 4 to 1, where we haven't won and win big. So, you know, we're fine. We're going to be great. We're going to win. What we need everybody to help. The Tucker thing that you mentioned, hundreds and hundreds of people, have come to our website and have donated the widow's mite, $5, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100. And we're just so grateful for it. We're really stoked.
Well, I hope that President Trump wades in and gives his endorsement. I mean, maybe he won't because of the incumbency thing, but man, if there was ever a race that he should dip his toe in during the primary, it would be this one, because Dan Crenshaw has been a thorn in all of our sides for these many years, and I don't know what happened to him. I don't know, but he got to go.
So I expect, I'm just going to be straight up with you. I think Trump will probably endorse Crenshaw.
Oh.
And I know what we're hearing is that, what we're actually hearing is that if these guys would just accept the maps the way they are and not complain, not whine, that he would give out blanket endorsements to the Texas Republican delegation. But even with it, the polling still shows that Crenshaw will lose. So we're stoked. We just need more people to go to our website, stevetothforcongress.com, or just stevetoth.com, TOTH. And whatever you can do to help us, we would be gratefully appreciative of it.
I'm gonna be praying for you and your team. Your team is lovely, wonderful. Loved meeting them. Loved meeting you.
They're awesome. Yeah, they're amazing. They have servants' hearts, and I think no one. And I'm just going to brag on them. No one does better constituency work in the state of Texas than my team does. They just love people and they love serving them. And we're going to do the same thing in DC. We're going to set the standard for constituency work in the U.S. Capitol.
I'm just honored to have you on, and you have my full support, and I'm going to be praying so hard because Dan Crenshaw, he needs to come to Jesus, and I hope he gets one. I hope he gets one in the form of getting his butt kicked out of Congress. So thank you, Representative Steve Toth, for joining me today. And it's stevetoth.com. Everybody, please go donate, and we'll be right back.
Thanks, Angela.
Okay, you guys, that is where I'm going to leave today's video. Please let me know what you think down below. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things, and I will see you in the next video. I will be done. Bye.